Now let's discuss a premier tool in strategic planning known as the feasibility study. So often when we devise a need for change, we seldom consider the feasibility of executing the change. I am sure we have all known individuals in our professional lives who were perceived as having this disconnect between the vision and implementation. Feasibility studies are used to close this gap. The objective of a feasibility study is to assess the viability of a project from a financial, technical, and operational perspective. Feasibility studies help us uncover the worthiness of the investment, the potential for success, and flaws or barriers that can lead to failure. From a financial standpoint, we must consider the cost of the project as well as the value to be realized. The reasons for conducting a feasibility study may seem obvious, given the competitive global landscape, but there are some important high-level considerations we should discuss. First, if we consider the universe of projects, not every project can be completed. The barriers could be financial, operational, technical, or even legal. Once we understand what can be done, we should then consider what should be done. This can be based on limits of time, resources, and alignment to the needs of the business. Finally, we should prioritize projects based on their potential to deliver value to the organization. Clearly, every project we undertake must have a tangible benefit to the organization. Otherwise, why would we do it? Feasibility studies help us organize our thoughts and aims for a project. This has numerous benefits over ad hoc approaches to project development. First, we can realize the purpose of our project. Every project should have a gap or need that must be fulfilled. Establishing the purpose helps to keep the team, stakeholders, and champions all on the same page. Feasibility studies help us uncover key decisions that must and should be addressed ahead of project launch. Finding these open items later on, after launch, can create delays and wasted effort in resolution. In addition to finding unknown items that must be addressed, we also are able to prioritize these issues. Remember that strong project leaders view problems as opportunities. Feasibility studies help us to narrow and confine the boundaries of our scope. Scope creep is a common issue in project implementation dynamics. Finally, feasibility studies help us dial in our likelihood for success. This is by no means a scientific or mathematical determination, but it is based on a collaborative exchange between team members, stakeholders, subject matter experts, and champions. Even though feasibility studies carry many benefits, they can be highly ineffective under certain circumstances. If we are considering a project that is not aligned with the needs of the business, then a feasibility study will bring little credibility to our decision to execute or abandon the project. Undefinable boundaries can also present a fundamental incompatibility with the aims of a feasibility study. It is much like writing a blank check when you are under strict budget limitations. As we will learn in the measure phase, it is difficult to truly know if we have improved if we cannot measure where we are and where we are going. Sometimes our difficulty resides in our lack of agreement as to how to define our measures. Other times, we simply have no reliable and valid way to assess. In either case, we are doomed to failure of the project. It is like trying to find the answer when you cannot know the question. An excessively broad scope can also be a recipe for disaster in a feasibility study. We should insist on narrowing the scope as much as possible. Finally, a lack of support at the highest levels of the organization should be very telling about the chances of a positive outcome on the project. When in the midst of pulling together the elements for the feasibility study, any of these issues should be considered red flags or showstoppers.
They should be resolved to the satisfaction of all parties involved. Otherwise, it would be best to pursue other avenues for continuous improvement.